Now let's further enrich our perspectives with our guest contributors who will give their views and expertise on nearly everything we've covered on the program today and beyond. And for this, I'm joined now in the studio by the current affairs analyst and professor of communications at Bayes University in Abuja, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi, and by Arise News analyst and former chairman of the editorial board of Daily Trust newspaper, Mahmud Jega. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. Let me come to you first, Prof. You heard Jega showing me there. Very interesting character, clearly moving beyond where he was. I mean, he's taken himself a step further, and somebody said as he was walking out the door that his body is still in the PDP, but his soul has left. What's your assessment?
Well, like everyone else, when I saw the picture, himself and the president, I was slightly concerned. I wasn't shocked, really. I wasn't surprised, because it is one more epitome of the character of the Nigerian politician. There's nothing wrong with a citizen meeting the president anyway, but for what we know him as, you know, what we have previously known him as, we just know that he's in the opposition, and he's a very articulate member of the opposition. Indeed. One that is actually highly prized by opposition members because of his rhetorical skills. And when I saw him with the president, I said, oh, this is another instance of a major defection. And once more, he speaks to, like I said, the character of the politician, you know, not just him alone. It's just one more epitome, like I said, where it's more about expediency, about pragmatism, no difference between right and wrong, between morality and immorality, between principles and opportunism. You know, so they just look at what is expedient for them at every point in time, and they make the go for it, you know. So everything, he can, yes, he's got that, is very talented. He can use all the themes, you know, all the adjectives to describe, you know, or to explain away his action. But it doesn't take away, you know, the fact that, you know, something is missing in the mix, you know, and that what is missing is actually some level of principle, some level of ideology. But I'm not going to blame him particularly, Charles. It's the system, really, you know, because it's just Jega showing me today. The other time it was Daniel Bola, yes, and we were screaming all over the place. Today it's Jega showing me. Tomorrow it might be someone else, you know. So it's going to continue on, and of course you also see people moving from the other side. It's the nature of our politics, you know, also until perhaps the character of our democracy improves, you know, before we begin to see politicians, you know, who are largely ideological, who will be committed to principles, you know, and not necessarily be pragmatic, you know, or if you want, opportunistic, as the case could be.
Mahmud, I wonder what your reaction to that is. Is it, as he was hinting, an issue of wanting to be near the orbit of power? Something that drives, as he said, the Nigerian politics?
I agree almost completely with what Prof. Said, that from the beginning, he is a very eloquent, brilliant fellow. I have seen him on this program and on other programs several times over the years, and he always struck me as an extremely brilliant and articulate and also principled fellow. But given the politics that he has come to personify in the last so many years, most people were shocked to see him going alone to see the president in his private residence. You see, if, for example, you see the PDP leaders, the chairman and secretary and some executive members going to see the president, then we'll say, okay, they must be raising issues of concern to democratic practice and things like that, or even the closure of their secretariat and things like that. But for an individual member to go and have a private audience in this atmosphere, when PDP governors and many senators and other senior officials are jumping from PDP to the ruling party, really gives the impression that this is another defection in the wings. And despite all his eloquence, if we listen between the lines to what he said on this program tonight, the inescapable conclusion that he will soon be in
Absolutely.
APC. He will soon be in
Absolutely.
APC. Yes, because to have said so much about being held in awe by the president, when really all the things he cited, as you pointed out to him, were things that were in Jagaban's manifesto many years ago. This thing about the forest guards and even the financial inclusion, all those things were
credit
in the
facilities,
exactly,
and all the rest of it, yeah.
in the manifesto. So to say you are hearing them almost for the first time and you are shocked and awed by them and all the other platitudes. In any case, towards the end, he did say that the way PDP is going is poorly managed, which is true.
Yeah.
Because to have a party in that kind of state, I mean, any member will be disappointed and dispirited. So he gave that as the reason why he might ultimately leave. And then, shockingly, he also said if he leaves PDP, it is to APC.
In other words,
there are many other...
It's clear what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think so.
But, Prof, a final word on that before we move on. I mean, is there justification in your assessment that takes it beyond the realm of just a self-serving politician, that having seen what is going on in the PDP, and for many people the almost irretrievable condition of the party at the moment, that perhaps we shouldn't blame him so much if he decides that as a young man, reasonably young man who's got political ambitions, he needs to, you know, place his stock somewhere else?
Well, to that extent, he might be right, you know, if we begin to look at the uncertainties in PDP, you know, but if it's about principles, so if it's about ideology, there are some other political parties that you probably will have gone to, you know. Labour Party is there, you know, and there's some
Labour Party is a mess, I'm afraid.
Well,
I wouldn't go there
but again,
if I were him.
Yeah, but again,
sorry, Labour.
Yeah, but Charles, I think again, it's about opting for the least option. You know, they are somewhat in a mix, facing difficulty. They do not know how their tomorrow is going to be, and here he is with the kind of talent he has that he can use that he can put on the table of another person who probably wants it.
Right.
And of course, we know who the president is, a very smart strategist, like we've been told severally, and like we have seen him exhibited, you know, on occasions. You know, he will want somebody who is heavily resourced like this gentleman to be around him, just like he has done with some other spokesmen that are around him. And
it's a mutually beneficial.
Absolutely. And of course, again, do not forget also that the presidency, Nigeria's presidency, as the case could be, is a very powerful office. That office can be magnetizing. I remember what Ganifa Emi said ages ago, that if you want to be consistent as an opposition, don't go close to the president, you know, because the president can disarm you. You know, even the hardest of the stone can cave in at the sight of presidential aura.
Indeed.
And of course, if you are close to it, if you smell it, like Segun Sowunmi did and couldn't resist it, you know, I even went as close. I went as close as possible to conversing with the president. Of course, what do we expect?
Yep.
You know, so it's a human being, and we are seeing another manifestation of power. I mean, Indeed. He had to cave into that aura, as the case could be.
Well, let's move on from that, Mahmud, because looking at the PDP itself, Nyesom Wike, the Minister of Abuja, has met with other members of the G5 as well as other PDP stakeholders. They resolved at their meeting that the PDP must zone the presidency to the south in 2027, and also they insisted that Sam Anyang is the authentic national secretary of the party. What is your assessment of what is happening there? Because people are starting to wonder, they're calling themselves concerned PDP stakeholders. That's another faction of the PDP. Some have called it the Nyesom Wike faction of the PDP. Is it good or bad for the PDP?
What Minister Wike and his G5 colleagues were trying to say, they stopped just one sentence short. It is not about zoning the presidency to the south. They want the presidency to be zoned to Asiwaju Tinubu in 2027. I mean, Wike said not too long ago that he is going to campaign vigorously for the election of the president in 2027. Now, they are essentially trying to wreck the PDP in order to assist in the re-election of President Tinubu. That's what they are doing. If you are not a member of the party spiritually, why should you bother how it is what this American Secretary of Agriculture said in the 70s, that if you don't play at the game, then you should not make ad hocs. You see, the correct thing would be for Minister Wike and Autumn and the other G5 to officially migrate to APC and go there and help with his 2027 election strategy. But what they are doing, since I became old enough to watch Nigerian politics at the start of the Second Republic, has never been done, which is to hold on to the leadership of a major party when in spirit and in fact you belong to another party. All this insistence that Mr. Anyanwu must be the secretary. Already, the speculation is that the acting chairman of the PDP is already aligned to their group and to Minister Wike in particular. And by the time he succeeds in installing Mr. Anyanwu as the secretary, then he has a full grip on the PDP National Working Committee. Then how do you call it an opposition party? And to declare, when you say you are still PDP, and to declare that you are going to work very hard for the re-election of Mr. Tinubu, you see, it's the classic definition of anti-party activity. And any party that is functioning properly, for a member to declare that he is going to support the candidate of another party, he should be expelled the following day.
That is, you couldn't get more anti-party
than that. Couldn't get more anti-party than that. That's the way I see
Prof, does it look like it's the final nail in the coffin from your assessment for the PDP?
Charles, I don't really know their path to redemption, because sometimes I just forget how they missed their presidential calculation in 2023 and how they haven't been able to recover from it, You cannot go too far from two individuals if you want to resolve the perennial crisis in the party. And I think one of them, Minister Wike, knows what he's doing, He's a kind of smart person in another direction. And he has his feet on two sides, and he seems to be profiting from it. On one side, he's a very powerful and successful minister, who has the soft spot of the president. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, he's been effective, in giving headache to another political party, that hurt him, in his bid to become vice president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So he's not giving up. I'm not sure he was probably a switch. That's why he's not giving up. So everything he's doing, whether stakeholder meeting and all of that, and of course he has people who are still around him who believe in him, who are sympathetic, who are still sympathetic to how he was traumatized 2 years ago, and who are indirectly supportive of his moves. So I don't know how the party will go, but I think if they really want to make anything out of what is left of the party, there's no way the discussion can go beyond two major individuals, former Vice President and Minister Wike.
That's a very good point. We'll have to watch and see whether the BDP can rise from the ashes as the proverbial phoenix did. Gentlemen, I want to thank you very much indeed. Professor Abiodun Adeniyi is a current affairs analyst and professor of communications at Bayes University in Abuja, and Arise News analyst Mahmud Jega is a former chairman of the editorial board of Daily Trust newspaper. Thank you very much indeed.
A pleasure.
That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.